So, welcome back to another Half and Half Scarf football podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. Today, we're going to talk about something that's imminent, and it's imminent because of the fact that we're in the international break and we're in the next level of qualifiers for the World Cup 2026. And for those England fans listening, it's fairly obvious we are going to qualify by beating the likes of Andorra, and we're going to get there. Scotland are there or thereabouts, potentially securing at least a playoff. I'm not so sure that Wales and Northern Ireland particularly are going to make it, but they might be around the peripheries of those playoffs as well. But the World Cup 2026 has got a lot of things that me and Dom in particular, are rankled about. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back to episode 16 of the Half and Half Scarf podcast my co-host, Dom. Dom, welcome back, mate.
Thanks for having me, mate. Yeah, looking forward to this one. A lot to talk about and a few niggling issues, shall we say, that
Okay.
we're both annoyed about, me particularly on the ticket prices.
Okay, well, before we get to that, our usual YouTube viewing. Look, guys and ladies, we've got Half and Half Scarf merch. Dom kindly organised these. These are for our promotional sort of handing out our information at our football grounds and that kind of thing. So we've got the Half and Half Scarf football merch. We won't go any further than that. It's just got the branding on it and where you can view and listen with all the sort of YouTube, Spotify, etc., etc. So thanks for organising those, Dom. We've now got microphone covers and we've now got T-shirts. So
T-shirts as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Next
with T-shirts and microphone forms. That's it.
Next up, world domination. But there you go. Okay, so without further ado, Dom, the World Cup's got a lot of things going on. It's three countries. There's a lot of tensions around it in terms of cities that have got really high crime rates. There's lots of issues around Iran, USA, and potentially Israel qualifying and all that kind of thing. But because we are the fans' perspective, and that's what we like to think about, the biggest thing that we want to talk about at the start of this podcast is what FIFA are doing to fans when it comes to ticket prices. Now, I'm quite happy to hand over to you to rant away, mate. I know you are absolutely livid about this.
I'm raging about this. It's just disgusting. It's just robbing the fans in plain sight. It's literally, this is what we're going to charge you. It's a clear rip-off. We don't care. We'll just make loads of money and, suck it up and get on with it. It's tragic. So you've got 4 categories. They've released their first tranche of tickets. There's going to be several different scheduled releases of tickets. And category 1, 2, 3 and 4, category 4 being the cheapest. Category 4 games start at, around 60 quid to 120 quid, something like that. But really, they showed a stadium with the colour codings of your tickets, and category 4 was green, the £60 tickets, and there were literally like tiny little specks in the very far highest corners. You couldn't even see them, mate. You had to, widen your phone magnification to see where the actual £60 tickets were. It's almost like, do you know what? We've got 80, 90 seater stadium. It's a 1,000-seater stadium. We'll just throw in 100, 260 quid tickets. But really, the tickets are hugely inflated from there. Go on, mate. You make a point.
Are they saying they've got these category 4 tickets because they feel like they have to say they've got these category 4 tickets? Look at us, we're doing our thing, but don't look too closely because you won't find them. Is that what you feel? It's just
that's what I feel, and it's really, if FIFA were wanting to be really transparent, it should be, here's the World Cup tickets. They're all priced between, I don't know, 60 quid and 120 quid. There you go. First come, first serve. Take your pick. It's a match ticket to a football match. I mean, you're not booking a ticket on a spaceship to the moon, are you? I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, it goes up from there. So, category 3 is something like 300 or 400 quid up to 500 or 600 plus. Category 2, it goes incrementally into the thousands, and they even had the audacity to, on the World Cup final ticket, started at something like 1,500 quid up to £6,000. I mean, the only people who are buying these tickets are the rich or the stupid, because people who aren't rich and don't care about money. So in other words, well, to rich people, 6 grand might feel like 60 quid because they don't care. They've got loads of money. But if normal, ordinary fans are buying into this, and they must be, or rich corporate people are, they're fueling FIFA's system and ideology, and it's absolutely wrong. What people need to do is to turn around and say, we're not paying those prices, and walk away. And literally, FIFA would die on their arse because they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. They'd have to lower their tickets because they'd be desperate to fill stadiums. So the other thing on top of this is, so you've got thousands, and you've got all these tickets priced at thousands of pounds. So imagine you buy a ticket for 1,500 quid, but it's cost you, not even that. Say you go for a Category 3 game, you've managed to get a ticket for 300 quid. Oh, I'm going to get one for my son. Oh, my wife and daughter want to go, want to be a family affair. Oh, yeah. So it's all right to pay 1,200 quid for a family to go and watch a football match for a country that you don't really care about because you can't get to see the USA. Say you're a US fan or something like that, and you're there and the stadium's on your doorstep. Are you really going to pay 1,200 quid to go and see a football match? I'm not.
Well,
No.
if you look at the Club World Cup fiasco, which I thought was just another tournament too far, just to generate revenue for the FIFA money gods, as it were. The stadiums were empty, lots and lots of empty seats, and they used to pan around from the camera angles to show that they looked like they were busy and full. And essentially, they were lacking in atmosphere and lacking in kind of just general kind of football enjoyment in terms of the fan experience because there was hardly anybody there. And then worse than that, they then started giving away the tickets in the week leading up to a game for next to nothing, or even giving them away to colleges and that kind of thing. So imagine that you have dived in early to buy your ticket at $300 just for you. Or maybe you and your son or your daughters, you paid a couple of hundred, 600, 700 quid for your two tickets. And imagine then that if the stadiums still look half empty and FIFA start giving the tickets away to colleges locally, there's no upside to this ticket pricing at all, is there? It's not fair. B, when it comes to proper football fans, it's just not accessible. And C, even if it is, then I do believe that they're going to shoot themselves in the foot by either playing to empty stadiums or fiddling the books somehow by giving the tickets away that people won't just refuse to buy. And why would you want to go to a football match that's full of prawn sandwich eating corporate types or posh people, with all due respect, who probably don't follow football at all, but want to taking a sporting spectacle or whatever it might be. That's the worst American accent ever, by the way. But just because it's a sporting spectacle, it'd be full of your bloody politicians and your hangers-on and your corporate types. It's just the World Cup should be, I totally agree with you, accessible to everybody. The tickets come out, there's a fixed price, the stadiums are the stadiums, the locations are the locations. We'll come on to that in a minute. And in reality, what you've then got is a free-for-all in terms of first come, first served, or if you've got a point system, for example, like England Supporters Club might have a point system, and you get first choice on, those kind of tickets to make it fair. I'm sure that other countries like Holland, well-supported countries like Mexico have got some kind of system in place, but they shouldn't be priced out of the marketplace. And it's just a money-making exercise, and that's why they've moved the World Cup from 32 to 48, and God forbid that the next World Cup after this, they're already talking about going to 64 teams. That means that San Marino might be in the World Cup, Andorra might be in the World Cup, even Scotland might qualify for the World Cup now.
Yeah, it's all about money, and FIFA will always go by their strapline of, well, we're doing all this because we want to reinvest into the game. What a load of shit.
Yeah.
They spend most of their money rewarding themselves and all their shareholders and everyone else and all their hangers-on. FIFA is one of the most corrupt organisations in the world. Everyone knows that. It's been proven. So they can argue all they like, but it's just the usual billionaire organisational strap lines that you hear. They don't invest back into football. They could pump so much money back into football, but what they also fail to recognise is football is about the fans. It was started by working class people. So you should be all about the fan, the ordinary fan. So the World Cup is no longer available to the world. Basically, it's available to the rich, the
Mm.
corporate, and the entitled. So if you're an ordinary fan, they don't want you. They don't want your 60 quid. They're not interested in that. What they want is your 1,200 quid. They want you to really cough up.
Yeah,
So unless you're one of these crazy people who've whacked it on a credit card and are just desperate to go and see a game, you're pay. All these people pay attention if you're listening. You're paying into this. You're fueling this for the future. It's never going to get any better if you keep, buying into the FIFA way of doing things. Where does it end? Worst of all, mate, on this. So on the resale platforms, because the regulations in America are different, whereas other World Cups, if you resold your ticket, you couldn't sell it for more than the actual value of the ticket price. And let's face it, the ticket price is ridiculous anyway. I mean, like I was saying, category 2, category 3 games, you honestly want to pay 1,200 quid for a ticket? No. But in America, on resale platforms now, because the regulation's different, FIFA has said, oh, well, we'll make even more money here. So you don't have to, you're not governed by having to sell it at the match ticket price. You can sell it for what the hell you like. Oh, and get this as well. FIFA will take 15% from the buyer and 15% from the seller as well. You now go and look on resale sites in America at these stadiums, and you look at, like a bit like where you park your car and you see where all these car parking spaces are available and what the
yeah,
price is. You go and look on the MetLife Stadium or something like that, and you look at the prices of tickets now. They're all there for like £5,000, £7,000, £10,000. There's one on the World Cup final somewhere, and someone's had the audacity to resell their ticket for £50,000. I'm not being funny, but how brainless would you need to be to pay £50,000 for a ticket? But
yeah.
then, sadly, most of the most brainless people in the world seem to be billionaires, and they don't care about money. So if they want to go and do that, great. But whether you can sell the tickets or not, and if people are stupid enough to buy them or not, it's about fans, ordinary fans, going to games, supporting their local teams, supporting their communities, supporting their country. None of these people can do that. Like you just said, and I've read articles on it, good articles in The Athletic and other magazines. They've said the same thing. You'll have other tranches of tickets that are then sold. People don't really know why the take up has been so powerful and so quick, and then everything on resale platforms. So who's buying the tickets? Is it touts buying them in bulk load and then they're going to sell them on cheaper later on? What are they going to do? People have said the same as what you just said. Other tranches of tickets might well come up and they're going to be more expensive. But then nearer the time, are all these tickets going to suddenly pop up on resale sites or people outside the ground with match tickets and selling them for dirt cheap prices? If that happens, how the hell are these people getting hold of the tickets? How in this day and age, touts able to still bulk load and buy tickets? It's tragically wrong, mate. And then with all the other things I've just said, the capper on this as well is it's dynamic pricing. So based on supply and demand, ticket prices will rise. A bit like what Ticketmaster did when they ripped off all the Oasis fans. Dynamic pricing. It's not
Yeah.
dynamic pricing. It's literally let's take the piss out of the average fan and just increase the prices and rip everyone off. Oh, and by the way, on that one, Oasis really could have stepped in and done something about that, but they didn't. It's the same thing here. FIFA will have dynamic pricing. Why? A match ticket's a match ticket. Sell your match ticket to ordinary fans and get on with it.
I totally agree, but going back to your point you made there about the World Cup and the purpose of FIFA and all that kind of thing, isn't it about spreading the word of football? I mean, how did that go in
Yeah.
Russia? How did that go in Qatar? And do we need to spread the word of football in Mexico, who are absolutely mad for it? And, America, where the MLS is mature now. Okay, maybe Canada, it's not that mature as a football sort of country, but I'm not sure we need to be spreading the word and using 3 countries as a location because essentially, I would imagine all 3 countries have bid the same price that one country would have bid. So FIFA probably got 3 times the revenue from the host countries that would have done by hosting it in one place. But, that's just an observation of what might have happened. But it's absolutely nothing to do with spreading the word. It's absolutely nothing to do with the working man. It's absolutely nothing to do with the average fan. The average fan be nowhere near this World Cup. But the ticket prices is one thing. Let's
But
get on to
on
yeah.
that one, mate, just finally on ticket prices, well, I think, we could sound like we're on our soapboxes and cross and having a rant, and we are. But my final point on this about tickets is when are organisations going to learn that, I don't really see FIFA's role in football. I just don't at all. We don't need them. That's the tragic thing about it. We actually don't need FIFA.
Yeah.
But what they're failing to recognise, and what the bigger picture here is, a World Cup is a celebration of football. It's about fans getting together and coming together from all their communities and all their clubs and supporting their countries. And it's about everyone getting together and travelling into these countries and getting to know each other, talking about football, having a relationship like we all do when we see away fans at football and everything else. But the bigger side of this is it's about the football community, and it's about encouraging new fans into the game. It's about wanting kids to have the love of football. You know, how many kids, street footballers, kids from other, deprived areas in countries where you then give them a match ticket for to go and see a World Cup game, might inspire them to go and want to play football in their local community, and then join a team, become professional later on down the line. You want people from all areas attending football, not just the rich, not just the privileged. It should be a celebration of here's a World Cup. These are your ticket prices. We want everyone to attend, because then you've got a real match day experience with people who are really invested. You also encourage and get people wanting to go and see their actual country in those games, because you want that tribal atmosphere and the
Yeah.
rivalry in the games, because that's going to be questionable in this World Cup. FIFA kind of say, well, we're going to arrange that and there's going to be pots of tickets available for fans from these countries. Well, I don't know how that's going to work. But surely, as an organisation, you want to market yourself and say, we are about football, we're here, we know where football's origins are, and we want to encourage that and keep it. But you'd make enough money by having a basic match ticket. You might have a bit of corporate smattered in, but you'd still make plenty of money. The other way of doing it, like in Germany, is you get all your sponsors to invest. You know, all your big names sponsors to invest. That's where you make your money.
Mm.
And then you put it back into the game. But you have normal match tickets. You're then going to be lauded the world over from people saying how wonderful this organisation is that respects our game, that wants us to go and attend, that wants to make it affordable, and everyone can attend and everyone can fall in love with the game. You, in a previous pod, you talked about your memories of the 1970 World Cup. My first memory was the 1982 World Cup. I was 9. I'd been going to football for 2 or 3 years. And for me, that watching that World Cup was such a magical experience. And that was only at home. But it intensified my love for the game and wanting to play football and watching these amazing players. If I could have actually gone, say that had been in England, I'd have been able to go to some games. Now, fast forward 45 years, if that was now and it was my daughter, I couldn't take her to a game, mate. I wouldn't be able to go. And that's a tragic state of affairs. That's where the game's got to. And that's kind of what I'd like to finish on that one on ticket prices.
Well, I'd like to finish on ticket prices with this. If I see someone next year at the World Cup wearing a suit, shirt and tie, then I know the game's gone, because that is not the attire of people who go and watch football. If there's all the corporates and the suits and the prawn sandwich brigade, they'll all be wearing the shirts, suits and ties. I don't care how hot it is, because they're there as posh representatives of some corporate organisation. Football has lost its head, and FIFA should hang their heads in shame. Just as a money-making organisation, that's all they are, taking the piss out of the fans. Now, let's look at the actual structure of the World Cup next year. Why 3 countries, and why do they have to move people around? Imagine that you are let's say, a fan of England or a European team, and you might be playing your first game in San Diego, your second game in Mexico, your third game in Canada. So first of all, you've been ripped to hell in terms of your ticket prices, and secondly, you got the flights that go with that to get from, it's a big country on its own, America, let alone throwing in its near neighbours on both sides, top and bottom. Why would they choose 3 countries apart from money making? And secondly, why would they choose 3 countries, maybe not Canada, where the heat and humidity is so dangerous, as we identified in the Club World Cup, that they are now talking about kickoff times on a localized level being kind of 10 o'clock in the night or something of that nature, because that's the only time they can play. But then, so FIFA don't even care about the fans, but they don't care about the players either. They've chosen Mexico and certainly south of America, Florida and Los Angeles and places like that. The heat and humidity is a killer. And the Club World Cup players were drained as a result. If you remember Jack Charlton in 1994 when he was trying to get a bottle of water onto to his team, and what was his name? The guy who used to play for Liverpool.
On Aldridge.
John Aldridge, he was going mad, Jack Charlton, and he was trying to do that for the players' kind of welfare and
Yes.
heat and humidity. So why would FIFA do that? Why do you think they choose three countries, and why would they give no level of shits to player protection then, if that's their role as well?
I think they look. My general take on the three country thing is: look at us, look how generous we're being. We're going to showcase, all of North America. Well, what a load of bollocks for a start. That's not the case at all. If anything, if you want to encourage an up and coming country in like they did with, like they keep saying that about Saudi and what the Saudi World Cup. By the way, the only reason Saudi got it is because they're the only ones who can afford it next time round. Um, and giving to likes of Qatar and stuff like that. Well, give it to Canada. If you want to encourage a new nation into the footballing world in terms of putting it on a platform and showcasing their football teams and what they're doing in football, give it to Canada,
Yeah,
because that way you've probably got, like you said, you can base yourself in one area as a fan and have that experience. I mean, I don't. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, mate, or people who are listening. When we find out who's actually in, so say for example, England qualify, could they then play their group games? Are they based in one place, or will they have to move around between Canada, America, and Mexico? Because if they do that, that's an absolute disgrace as well. Because you should be basically playing your group games in a localized area, where that's why they've done it in the past. That's what you'd hope for. But like you were saying, from the team's perspectives, you might go from the group to the next round and be all over the place in terms of flying,
mm.
readjusting, reacclimatizing. That's not great. From the fans' perspective, and again, unless you're elitist and very, very rich, and you can fly around all over to all the different countries, good luck to you. But your average fan, I don't think they've got any chance of being able to do that.
No.
I don't really. I think it's just FIFA that's saying, look how amazing we are. We're showcasing all these wonderful countries. Well, Mexico's had it in 1970, 1986. I mean, they got it last minute in '86, by the way. I think because they couldn't have it in Colombia, and they
Yeah.
did an amazing job. But in terms of the World Cup cycle, '86 is still recent in terms of World Cup cycle. So they'll be brilliant there, fans, hopefully, and how they showcase their games. But I'm why did America need it so quickly after '94? Again, it's literally like, look how much their game's improved. Well, has their game improved? I don't
Mm.
think it has. The MLS is, for me, one of the most boring spectacles on the planet. You've got good quality footballers playing there, and you've got a good standard of football. So I'm not knocking the standard of football. What I'm knocking is you've got a sterile league. You've got no jeopardy. You've got all you want is franchise owners who want to just play in this league and have no jeopardy, no relegation, no promotion, just every year the same spectacle. So and you can guarantee in America that's what they'll be advertising, the MLS.
Mm.
It's not worth advertising.
Well,
But
the
what were you going to say, mate?
I was going to say about the MLS. Atlanta were an expansion MLS team. I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago. And Atlanta's a massive sports city. They've got baseball, they've got NFL, they've got basketball, etc. Massive sport, and they've got a fabulous stadium,
That's
like
unbelievable. Yeah.
like Tottenham Stadium,
Yeah.
world class, that kind of thing. And when they first launched, they were playing to 60, 70, 80,000 people, whatever its capacity is. It was full. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, place is empty, no one cares. And nobody cares because the spectacle of the MLS is like, oh, okay, we're playing them. Doesn't matter if we lose, it doesn't matter if we win because we'll still be here next season. So, they're taking football to a country where football is fourth, fifth, or sixth in the pecking order. It's probably behind ice hockey in a lot of places in terms of its kind
Well,
of popularity. So I hate the idea of it being in three countries. Going back to your point about, I think it's probably right, and I don't know enough to be absolutely accurate on this, that your group games will be hopefully on a localized level. You're going to be based in Florida or San Diego, whatever. But actually, once the group games have finished and you're into the knockout phases, then those could be anywhere, and they will involve a lot of travel, won't they? So that there's your fans' perspective shut out the window. I want to cover a couple of things that are a big worry, and I mean this as a political kind of statement about. I touched on it earlier. You've got USA qualifying as hosts, I'm assuming. I think they've gone through a qualification process anyway, but they'll definitely be there. I think you've got Iran have already qualified, and they're not known to be best of friends. And then Israel have been allowed to continue playing in the World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, they've banned Russia, but they've kept Israel. I'm not going to get into politics of all that. But if Israel qualify, Israel, Iran, and USA, first of all, they're going to have to do something with the seeding of the draw, which again questions the integrity of the whole thing. And secondly, that has got worry written all over it. I'm not sure I'd want to be in a stadium in America where any one of those teams might be playing, given the political unrest in that country. You've only got to look at kind of school shootings and bombings and all that kind of thing. It's a worry, and yet you know what? FIFA just gone. Yeah, we'll be all right. We give it to them. So I don't know about you, mate. I'd rather watch it on telly. I would not want to be in a live stadium environment, given the inherent danger. Trump's already said, and not that he can. I'm going to take the World Cup games away from cities that have got a really poor security record. That's a political thing. 'Cause he's having a go at the mayor of a city where they're a Democrat and he doesn't like them. But there are lots of cities in America which have got lots of no-go zones. Hey, let's
Yeah.
put one there. Why don't we? I don't know what your view on terror, security, the fan experience of that. I'd be nervous, I would say.
I'd be very nervous. I'd be very nervous because you're not quite sure how you're going to get treated. You've seen how UEFA treated Liverpool fans in that fiasco of the Champions League final in Paris a few years ago, which was just absolutely appalling the way
Yeah,
the French treated the Liverpool fans. And I'm not saying that would happen in America, but if there's heightened tensions, nervousness, worry, etc., it just make you worry in terms of how you then get treated as a fan in those particular circumstances. What kind of, if you were going out there for the World Cup and you were attending games, you really would want to know everything about where you're going, where's safe to go, where's not, how you feel comfortable enough to actually go to that event. So, I remember it does make you very nervous. It should be it's extreme to the point, but Liverpool fans going to that game, even when they were away from the ground, they had no one looking out for them at all, and it was literally a free for all in Paris.
yeah,
It was a really dangerous situation. So I agree with you on this. You go to America, you have these heightened tensions in terms of potential football matchups. But even if they weren't matching up, just the fact that some of these teams are there and people's views on that, and again, like you said, we're not going to get political because everyone knows what's going on with these countries and what's happening. But I think the key point you made there, and that's the bit I'm worried about, is FIFA haven't discussed or made clear at all what security measures are in place. Now, does that mean they're not interested? They've just left it to the authorities in America and Mexico and Kansas to deal with that? Are the authorities even aware of what could happen? Are they bracing themselves for that? I'm a bit, I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable going. I wouldn't go on principle, mate, purely on the basis of the ticket prices. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. If you partake in that, you're buying into this whole farce, and I refuse to do that. But yeah, it's particularly if you wanted to go with your family. Why would you want to put yourself in a situation in a football stadium where all of a sudden something terrible could happen?
mm,
And and this might sound like being critical of American security, and I'm not trying to say it flippantly, but look how many things have happened on political stages recently in America where you've had these random people taking pot shots, and you sat there thinking, how on earth have these people got in a position where they've been able to do that? What was the security at these events that these people are allowed to just walk in and do that and no
yeah.
one? and worryingly, leave the event as well. And you just think a football stadium in a nice cocoon space where people will struggle to leave. It does present an opportunity, and it does make you think, Christ, with all these volatility around the world, people's dislike of various presidents or leaders of their countries, we'll leave it at that rather than getting into names and things. But yeah, that's that. I think you raise a very good point. I've not thought about it that in depth until you said that. And I think, well, yeah, actually, as a fan, you would really want to. In the past, you probably wouldn't give that too much credence, would you? You'd probably just turn up and go and enjoy it. But I think now, in the world we live in now, I think that's a really deep worry because people are determined to make their stand on all kinds of issues, and they use any kind of event they can to
Yeah.
make those to publicise what they want, don't they? Their own agenda.
They do, they do. So let's leave that there. But it is again another reason why, for me, the choosing of America, particularly, but America, Canada, and Mexico as a three location, it must purely come down to the money, the financial sort of payback to FIFA. FIFA are just a money generating organisation. It's fair to say that you and I can't stand them. We don't think there's any need for them, and they're adding no value. Although clearly they've improved the awareness of football in Qatar since 2022. I mean it's a fabulous footballing nation now as a result of the World Cup. Or maybe it isn't. I don't know. I've not heard anything about Qatari football since that final, which was a brilliant final, by the way. Nothing about Qatari football has been, globalized or improved or whatever. They're very much thank you for your building your 7 stadiums. Thanks for the money. We'll leave you to it now, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah,
completely agree. It'll be the same in Saudi Arabia in 4 years' time. It's just, yeah, it's a nonsense, mate. It's not about growing the game. It's not about making it global. It's already global. It's football's massive everywhere.
yeah.
And it's not about extending your reach or tapping into other areas. Nothing needs tapping into. It's already there. You just need to respect the game and just have an honest tournament. No one really needs it in 3 countries. If it just got awarded to one country, no one would complain. Just have a very good tournament, all about the fans in one country with good value match ticket prices and brilliant fan zones for other people to turn up.
That's gone. That's never coming back. That's never going to happen.
Never
Nah.
going to happen, mate. The only time that'll ever happen in the future is if people finally get a backbone and say, we're not going to have this anymore. We're going to walk away. Fans have all the power. This is what I want people to realise. Fans have all the power. Look at COVID told us that. Football without the fans is just a disastrous, sterile experience. It's awful. If fans are pushed to a certain point, they will eventually say, hang on, this is just wrong. Enough is enough. And they'll walk. And if they do, what do the organisations do? They
Yeah.
either panic and suddenly give the fans what they want because they have to for them to walk back in. Or if they're so stubborn and stupid that they don't, the fans create something new for themselves. And that will happen eventually, mate, because ordinary fans are already priced out of the game.
Well, that happened with the Super League, didn't it? They had no idea with the backlash, and the backlash was instant, wasn't it, with the Super League? And
Yeah.
when they were protesting on the streets of Tottenham Hotspur, wow, how were they in the Super League? Anyway, never mind. But Spurs, Chelsea, City, United, all these fans, the clubs wanted it because they wanted the money. UEFA wanted it because they wanted the money, but the fans said no, and it died on its arse within 24 hours, didn't it? So you're right, but who's mobilising fans globally? I guess no one. Maybe the Half and Half Scarf podcast could globalise fans globally, mate.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you know what though? That is some of the message that we're trying to get out there. Fans, we have a voice, and we actually are very powerful when we're in unison together. You don't have to put up with something, and I'm not talking about protesting or doing things on a destructive level. Nothing like that. But fans can simply demonstrate their power by just walking away, not paying the ticket prices, not attending the matches, just saying enough's enough, or calling these organisations out and saying when is enough enough. And it's gone beyond that, though, isn't it, mate? It's not even like it's at a tolerable level.
Mm.
These World Cup ticket prices and everything that goes with it tells you that the game is completely out of control. It just needs a redress and just stripping back to where it was, and that could be done very easily.
On a localised level, Middlesbrough are playing at Hillsborough in a couple of weeks' time as we record this podcast, and the Hillsborough kind of fan base, the Sheffield Wednesday fan base, have called for a complete boycott of the game from Sheffield Wednesday fans. And there's the power they can
Yeah,
say. They can say to Chansiri, it is localised, not the same as mobilising on a global scale, but on a localised level, we're just not coming to the game. And it's weird because Middlesbrough have sold out their away allocation, or thereabouts, and they will do by the time. Middlesbrough could have a full away allocation and in an empty stadium and good luck to the Sheffield Wednesday fans, because that's their only recourse, is to go and watch it in a pub together, with regard to giving the pub money and giving the pub sort of revenue and not giving no revenue to Chansiri. And they've called upon Borough fans, and Borough fans have said they will do this. Don't buy a bloody thing in the ground, don't buy a pie, don't buy a drink, don't buy anything that gives revenue to Sheffield Wednesday. So fans can be mobilised. The champion, the Super League, Sheffield Wednesday, various things on that basis. And I would hope that at some point, and it might not be in my lifetime, that the World Cup either reinvents itself as a fan experience, not going to happen, or FIFA just crash and burn. Oh, and I'd love that to happen, because I don't know that Infantino's any better than Sepp Blatter. And if you're being compared to Sepp Blatter and you can't see the difference, you're in trouble, aren't you?
massively. Do you know what? You make a very good point there, because I've seen lots on social media where people are saying, never thought I'd say it, that, Sepp Blatter looks like an angel compared to Infantino. I mean, Infantino, wow, he's just devoid of being anything good about the game. He
Yeah.
doesn't care about you can see he doesn't care about the game. He's there with Trump, with giving Trump his ticket number one for the World Cup final and stuff. It's like Trump doesn't give a shit about the World Cup and attending a football match. It's just abhorrent. The whole thing is just appalling. Why can you not? I honestly literally scratch my head, mate, thinking, was this man, did he ever love football? Was he a football fan when he was a kid? How does he get to this point where he's running this organisation, and what are his values? That his values literally clearly stink.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about the game at all. Why can we not have someone or an organisation that is for the good of the game? There's good people out there who could run football the right way. Why is that not being done? And why are none of our organisations, why the FA or any of the other organisations around the world, calling out FIFA and saying, you can't do that? What are you doing with these ticket prices? It's appalling. You're not looking after the average fan. But I'll tell you why, because the FA are silent. They don't give a shit about the pyramid either. They say they do, but they don't. Premier League doesn't. None of them do. They're not invested in the value of the game and the grassroots level and everything that makes the game what it is. They're all about the coin and the money and the power.
I'll finish with one point on why it's not being led by good people, okay? Now, I've mentioned this on an earlier podcast, but Arsene Wenger, when he was manager of Arsenal, encouraged fabulous, expansive, front foot football. Okay, he had some challenges later on in terms of being, a bit outstayed his welcome a little bit with a lot of Arsenal fans, etc. But Wenger changed football, right? And Wenger is a football man, and he's 18 years as a Premier League or whatever manager, and he knows football inside out. So he's a good guy on paper. So then he gets a job as part of the kind of IFAB and rule-setting people, and he's coming up with all sorts of bullshit that's going to spoil the game. And, he's quite happy to sanction stuff and not stand up as an ex-football manager and go, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. So for me, the minute someone gets appointed to what I call a suit job, a corporate level executive kind of senior management job, they'll lose their values and their morals anyway. So we're done. Every organisation around the world, politically, you just look at the House of Commons, you look at FIFA, you look at UEFA. It's got good people in there, but they seem to just drink from the same trough the minute they get that trough key. And it's like, right, we're all part of the same process now. I think it's broken. I think it's beyond repair. And I think the World Cup next year, hopefully, will be a football spectacle on the pitch, because the rest of it is a shit show. And I want to
Yeah.
finish with my viewpoint on that. What's your finishing viewpoint on the World Cup? Are you looking forward to the actual football spectacle?
I am. I always enjoy the World Cup. I really enjoy watching it. So I am looking forward to the spectacle of it. I enjoy seeing things happen where teams I would not countries I would not know much about in terms of their footballing teams. Just watching them and seeing how they do, and seeing how some of them become surprise packages, and beat some of the better known countries and favoured teams and things like that. So it always, for me, provides some surprises in terms of players you've never heard of, and you think, wow, what a player they are, or just how good certain teams are. I'm just more concerned with the fact that, it should always be about the noise and the atmosphere generated in the stadium, because that makes the games better. And I just think if that's gone or missing, it's not going to be the same. But on TV, you might look at it and you might see all these clever shots of the stadiums, and you know what, the stadiums might end up being full, but full of what type of fan, and what are they actually getting out of it? And that's always been, and it's more heightened to me now than ever before, and that I've ever really thought about it is in the past. And yeah, I'm with you. I just think it's beyond broken, and I think it's systemic of how society is as well, mate. In terms of who's running our countries, who's in control. Governments don't really seem to be, and yeah, and I just think it's all about organisations looking after themselves rather than the bigger picture, looking after the actual game and the fans.
Well, what I would say, I didn't say I had a final point, but you just raised something that sort of struck a memory, really. We all remember the likes of Senegal beating France and Saudi beating
Yeah,
Argentina, but when we get to the next World Cup with 64 teams, I'm not sure I'll be watching at midnight Honduras versus the Faroe Islands, mate. I think that might just be a game too far for me. So once we
yeah.
get to that level, we are done as well, aren't we?
I think, yeah, that's a very, very quick final point. The more teams you put into it, the more it becomes saturated, doesn't it? It's like we were talking on the pod the other day about the championship playoffs going down to 8 places. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Go from 32 to 48 to 64. Well, what? Where's it all going? Where do you have the time to play all those matches? You know, players are exhausted. Links into other things we've said in the past. There's no breaks for these players. Extended longer tournaments, no rest in between, straight back into a season. We've said before, less is more. You don't always have to. I mean, 64 teams. If you go beyond there, you might as well just have no qualifying. Just say, oh, let just all turn up and we'll just have a free for all and just see where we go from there.
Okay. On that subject, we will look forward to it on the pitch, hopefully. We will get a World Cup final for the ages like we got in Qatar, because that was a sensational game of football. But we have to go through a hell of a lot of shit to get there, don't we? So
Yeah,
on that basis, Tom, thanks for your views on the World Cup and what's going to happen. We will cover at a later date, possibly in the next international break, what we think might well be the opportunities for England to win it. And I've got some views on that going back to 1970. But for now, we've talked about the World Cup 2026 and all the things that annoy us, upset us, or will bother us going forward. On the next episode 17, because it's the international break as we record this, and that episode will go out at the very end of the international break. It's our observations on the season to date. We've got some funny, interesting, and strange observations on the season to date as we get into October. But please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on all your favourite podcast platforms, including YouTube. We'd love a comment. We'd love a share. We'd love a subscription, because it all helps the numbers. We're building the podcast quite rapidly. We're getting some spikes in numbers now when we release this on a Monday, and we really appreciate your support. So thank you so much, and thanks, Dom, again. We'll see you on episode 17.
yeah. Thanks, Nick. Really loving it. I echo your comments exactly, and I'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.